Tonight's story begins with a simple act of kindness, the kind that heaven never ignores. Because sometimes God writes miracles in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, and when the heart chooses compassion over fear. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his past. But she knew one thing. People who look broken rarely walked into darkness alone. And when she stopped to help a stranger on a rainy night, heaven stopped with her. What happened next would change not only his life, but hers forever. Stay with me until the end. This story will touch a deep part of your heart. Subscribe for more faith-filled stories that lift your soul. The rain fell as if the sky had cracked open, turning the quiet street into a river of mirrored streetlights. Emma pulled her coat tight against her chest, the cold wind biting at her skin. It was her usual route home after closing the cafe, a path filled with memories of her mother. But something felt different that night. An unexplainable shift in the air. A sense that her life was about to change. As she rounded the corner, she saw a figure collapsed near a tree. At first, she thought it was just someone trying to shield themselves from the rain. But when lightning flashed, illuminating his face, her heart jolted. He was injured, soaked, struggling to breathe. Emma hesitated for half a second, fear whispering in her ear. But compassion, as always, spoke louder. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling with concern. The man opened his eyes slowly, as if each movement cost him strength. He tried to sit up, leaning on the trunk, but his legs buckled beneath him. "I'm fine. Just need a minute," he muttered, though it was painfully clear he wasn't fine at all. Emma felt a tug inside, a quiet nudge she recognized as God urging her not to walk away. "You're not okay," she insisted gently, kneeling in the cold water without a second thought. Her hands touched his arm and he flinched, not from pain but from shame. Head lowered, dark hair plastered to his face, eyes avoiding hers. "I don't need help," he whispered, almost pleading. But she knew that tone. She had heard it from people who'd carried too much alone for too long. "Everyone needs help sometimes," she said softly. Something in her voice made his chest tighten. It wasn't pity. It was compassion. Pure, unguarded compassion. The rain kept pouring, relentless and heavy. But between them there was an odd stillness, a quiet pocket where the world seemed to hold its breath. He exhaled shakily. "Okay. Just for a moment," he finally murmured. Emma helped him stand, his arm draped over her shoulder. His weight wasn't just physical. There was an emotional heaviness too, a burden he carried deep within. He limped beside her, his steps unsteady, his body trembling. She could feel how close he was to collapsing again, and though she had no idea who he was, something in her heart felt fiercely protective. They walked slowly down the rain-soaked street toward her cafe. The dark sign reflected on the glistening ground, creating a soft, warm glow. When she unlocked the door, a chill ran through her, not from the rain, but from a strange certainty that God was guiding every second of this night. She didn't know how she knew. She just did. When she switched on the lights, the small cafe came alive. Old coffee aroma clung to the walls and a framed photo of her mother smiled from behind the counter. "Sit," Emma said gently. He obeyed, though his eyes darted around, overwhelmed, as if trying to understand why a stranger would show such kindness. "What's your name?" she asked, retrieving clean towels. He hesitated. His past pressed on him like a locked door he didn't want anyone opening. "Michael," he replied quietly. The name seemed heavy. Emma simply smiled. Warm, without judgment. "I'm Emma." He looked at her for the first time, really looked, and saw honesty. Something rare in his world lately. She gently dabbed his face and arms dry. Michael wanted to pull away, but he couldn't. Her tenderness disarmed him. He winced when she touched a deeper bruise along his shoulder. "What happened?" she asked softly. Michael averted his gaze, breath hitching. "Long story," he murmured. It was his way of saying, "I'm not ready to tell you." Emma didn't push. She simply brewed coffee, her movements calm and practiced. The warm aroma filled the space, settling the silence between them like a soft blanket. Michael watched her, feeling something he didn't recognize at first. Safety. as if, for the first time in months, the world wasn't hunting him. "Here," she said, handing him the cup. He took it with both hands, trying to steady the tremor in his fingers. The first sip sent warmth through him, melting some of the coldness inside. "Thank you," he whispered, voice rough. Emma offered a small, gentle smile, the same smile her mother used to give. "You're safe here," she told him, and those words nearly undid him. Michael closed his eyes for a moment, exhaustion washing over him. The memories, the mistakes, the shame, they pressed against his chest like waves. But here, surrounded by warm light and the smell of freshly brewed coffee, something felt different, something lighter. He wondered why she cared, why she helped, why she hadn't walked away. "Do you have family nearby?" Emma asked carefully. He shook his head, lips tightening to keep the pain from spilling out. "Not anymore." It was all he offered. Emma felt her chest tighten. She understood loss. She understood silence. And she understood the kind of loneliness that didn't end when the world woke up. "You can rest here for a while," she said softly, even though it wasn't something she usually offered. But her heart insisted louder than her logic. Michael's eyes widened, startled by her generosity. "I don't want to burden you," he murmured. "You're not," she replied in a tone that made him believe it. Perhaps God was speaking through her. The rain tapped against the windows, but inside the cafe there was only warm silence. Michael lowered his head into his hand, overwhelmed. "Why are you helping me?" he finally asked, voice trembling with vulnerability. Emma paused, then answered with the simple truth that shaped her life. "Because once, someone helped me too." Michael felt a sting behind his eyes. Emotion, raw and unfamiliar, rose in his throat. Gratitude, shame, relief, pain, all tangled together. He couldn't remember the last time someone had looked at him with kindness. He couldn't remember the last time he felt seen. When Emma draped a blanket over his shoulders, his defenses finally cracked. He exhaled a deep, shaky breath, letting himself relax. Something sacred filled the room, an invisible presence guiding the moment. And Emma realized with quiet awe, she hadn't just helped a stranger tonight. She had stepped into a miracle God himself was writing. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the cafe windows, landing softly on Michael's face. He stirred slowly, as if waking from a long battle rather than a night's rest. Emma watched from behind the counter, wiping mugs while pretending not to stare. She didn't want to overwhelm him, but there was something fragile about the way he breathed, like a man learning how to exist again. When he finally opened his eyes, he looked confused, almost startled, as if he expected to wake somewhere dark and lonely. Instead, he found warm walls, soft colors, and the faint aroma of cinnamon. "You slept well," Emma said gently. He blinked a few times, trying to process everything. "I haven't slept like that in months," he admitted, voice raw. Emma set a plate of warm muffins on the table. "I made these fresh." Michael tried to protest, but his stomach growled at the exact wrong moment. Emma smiled, amused. "Please," she said. "Just eat." He hesitated, then nodded. The first bite made his eyes close involuntarily. It was more than food. It was comfort, something he hadn't felt in too long. For a few minutes, silence filled the cafe, but it wasn't awkward. It was healing. Emma watched his shoulders slowly relax, as if he'd been carrying a weight that was finally starting to loosen. She didn't ask questions. She didn't pry. She simply let the moment breathe. And somehow that quiet acceptance spoke louder than any conversation. "You didn't have to do all this," Michael said eventually, wiping crumbs from his fingers. Emma tilted her head slightly. "I know." Her voice was soft but steady. "But sometimes God puts people in our path for a reason." His eyes dropped to the table. He wanted to believe that. He desperately did. But faith felt like a distant memory he had lost track of. He stood carefully, testing the soreness in his leg. "I should go. I've taken enough of your time." Emma's expression shifted, concern mixed with something else. "Where will you go?" she asked quietly. Michael froze. It was a question he didn't want to answer. A question that exposed how little he had left. "I'll manage," he said, though even he didn't believe it. Emma took a small step closer, her voice gentle but firm. "Michael, you don't look like someone who's managing. You look like someone who's been fighting alone." His breath caught. The truth in her words hit him harder than he expected. He swallowed hard, emotions rising like a tide. "I don't want to be a burden," he said again. Emma shook her head softly. "You're not a burden. You're a human being who needs a safe place." She didn't know his story, but she knew pain when she saw it, and Michael wore pain like a shadow. A long silence followed. Michael stared at the floor, trying to hide the trembling in his hands. Emma placed a cup of hot tea on the table beside him. "Stay until you feel steady," she offered. "Nothing more. No pressure." That simple phrase, "no pressure," broke something inside him. Freedom was rare in his world. He sat down again, his posture stiff as if sitting required courage. Emma returned behind the counter, giving him space. Michael watched her quietly. There was something grounding about the way she moved. Intentional, warm, peaceful. He wondered how someone like her existed in a world that had been so cruel to him. His eyes drifted to the photo of Emma's mother hanging on the wall. A woman with kind eyes and a radiant smile. "She owned this place?" he asked. Emma nodded, her expression softening. "She built it from scratch. This cafe was her dream, and now, I'm trying to keep it alive." Michael sensed the ache beneath her words. "She passed away last year," Emma continued quietly. Michael's chest tightened. Loss. He knew that feeling too well. "I'm sorry," he murmured. Emma gave a gentle nod. "She used to say, 'Kindness never returns empty.' I guess that's why I stopped last night." Her voice still guides me. Michael felt something shift inside him, a subtle pull toward hope. They shared a brief smile, small, genuine, unexpected. For the first time in months, Michael felt something warm spreading through his chest. Not just gratitude, but connection. A recognition of someone who understood brokenness, but chose to love anyway. "Emma," he said hesitantly, "I haven't been myself lately. I made mistakes. Big ones." She didn't flinch, didn't judge. "Everyone has a story," she said with quiet conviction. "You don't have to tell me yours until you're ready." The grace in her voice made his eyes burn. Michael looked out the window, where the rain had finally stopped. A thin ray of sunlight pierced through the clouds, landing directly on his table. It felt symbolic, like a reminder that storms didn't last forever. Emma noticed it too. "See?" she whispered. "Light always finds a way." He looked back at her, truly seeing her for the first time. Kind eyes, gentle voice, a strength wrapped in softness. She didn't know his past, yet she treated him like he mattered. It was disarming, unfamiliar, healing. "Why are you being so kind to me?" he asked again, quieter this time. Emma smiled, the type of smile that carried both tenderness and truth. "Because someone once showed me that God doesn't wait for us to be perfect before he sends help." Michael swallowed hard. Something in him cracked open, a tiny fracture where light could enter. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring or whether he deserved any of this, but one thing felt unmistakably clear. Meeting Emma wasn't an accident. It wasn't chance. It was mercy. And as he sat there in the soft glow of morning light, Michael realized he wasn't just recovering. He was beginning again. The day passed slowly, wrapped in a quiet calm neither of them tried to break. Michael stayed in the cafe, helping Emma wipe tables, stack cups, and restock shelves. He moved carefully, still favoring his leg, but there was purpose in his steps. Something he hadn't felt in months. Emma noticed it, though she said nothing. Sometimes healing begins in silence. By late afternoon, the sky outside had turned a soft gold, casting warm shadows on the wooden floor. Emma brewed another pot of coffee and brought Michael a cup. "Thank you," he said, his voice low but sincere. She smiled softly. "You don't have to thank me every time." He lowered his gaze. "I do, because I'm not used to this anymore." "This?" Emma asked, gently tilting her head. "Kindness," he whispered. The word felt heavy, as if it carried years of absence. Emma didn't rush her reply. Maybe it's time you experience it again. Her voice was calm, steady, like someone who had learned to walk through storms without losing her softness. As evening approached, the cafe emptied, leaving only the soft music humming in the background. Michael stood near the counter, fingers tracing the worn patterns on the wood. Something in him was unraveling, not painfully, but necessarily. "Emma," he began, exhaling shakily, "there's something you should know." She turned toward him, her expression open, gentle. "You can tell me," she said. He looked down, gripping the edge of the counter. "I wasn't always like this. I had a life, a good one, a job, a home, people who trusted me." He paused, swallowing hard. "And I lost it all, not because of bad luck, but because of my own decisions." Emma stepped closer but stayed quiet, allowing him space to continue. Michael ran a hand through his damp hair, shaking his head. "I trusted the wrong people, made choices out of pride, ignored warnings. I thought I was invincible." His voice cracked. Then everything collapsed, bit by bit, until nothing was left. He laughed bitterly, though his eyes were full of grief. "The world doesn't treat you the same once you fall. People move on, doors close, friends disappear." Emma's heart tightened. She knew that kind of loneliness too well. Michael's breath trembled. "I stopped believing things could ever get better." Emma's eyes softened even more. She didn't see a failure standing in front of her, she saw a wounded soul. "Sometimes," she said gently, "God lets everything fall apart so he can rebuild us stronger than before." Michael blinked, surprised by the truth in her voice. "You really believe that?" he whispered. "I've lived it," Emma replied. Her voice carried both pain and peace. Michael frowned slightly, sensing a deeper story. "What happened?" he asked softly. Emma inhaled, gathering herself. "My mom got sick. It was sudden and fast." Michael's face fell. Loss recognized loss. "I'm so sorry," he murmured. Emma nodded, her eyes glistening. "She was my best friend, my safe place. And when she passed," her voice wavered, but she pushed through. "I felt like the world dimmed, like something inside me shattered." Michael felt the ache in her words. The shared vulnerability bridged the space between them. "I almost closed this place," Emma admitted, glancing around the cafe. "It was too painful, too empty without her." Michael looked around too, suddenly seeing the cafe not as a business, but as a memory, living, breathing, held together by love. "But you didn't close it," he said quietly. Emma shook her head, a small smile touching her lips. "No. One night, in the middle of my grief, I heard her voice in my heart. She used to say, 'If you keep giving kindness, God will keep giving strength.' I clung to that, and somehow, this place survived. And so did I." Michael felt the words sink deeply. Silence settled between them, soft, meaningful, not heavy. Two souls standing in the middle of a quiet cafe, each carrying scars the world couldn't see. Emma broke the silence first. "Pain teaches us things nothing else can." Michael looked at her, eyes full of something new. "Like what?" "Like how strong we really are," she said. "And how much we need each other." Michael's throat tightened. He wasn't used to needing anyone. He wasn't used to being needed. But standing there with Emma's steady presence grounding him, he realized that maybe needing someone wasn't weakness. It was healing. They moved to the back of the cafe to start closing. As Emma reached for a box on a high shelf, it slipped from her hands. Michael reacted without thinking, catching it before it hit the floor. Their hands brushed, and both froze, for the first time aware of how close they stood. The moment stretched, quiet and charged. Emma looked up, her breath catching softly. Michael's eyes held something raw and vulnerable. Not attraction, at least not yet. It was trust, a fragile trust forming between two wounded hearts. She stepped back gently, grounding the moment. "Thank you," she whispered. Michael nodded, unable to find words. As they finished cleaning, Michael felt lighter, not healed, but no longer drowning. Emma turned off the lights one by one, the cafe growing dim and peaceful. "You don't have to face everything alone," she said before locking the door. He held her gaze, the words embedding themselves in his soul. Walking out into the cool night air, Michael realized something profound. Emma hadn't just listened to his story. She had shared her own. And in that exchange, honest, fragile, sacred, something had shifted. For the first time in a long time, he felt not condemned, but seen. And maybe, just maybe, God wasn't done with him yet. The next morning, the cafe buzzed with soft chatter and the clinking of cups, ordinary sounds that felt strangely comforting to Michael. He wiped tables while Emma worked behind the counter, both moving in a quiet rhythm they hadn't spoken about but somehow understood. For a moment, it almost felt like he belonged there, like he was part of something steady again. But peace has a way of being interrupted. The bell above the door chimed sharply, and a cold gust rushed in. Michael glanced up and froze. A man in a tailored coat stepped inside, shaking off the wind. His eyes swept the cafe with purpose, sharp and searching. When they landed on Michael, everything inside him collapsed. The stranger's jaw tightened. "Michael Hale," he said, voice full of accusation. Emma looked between them, confused, but instantly alert. Michael felt the blood drain from his face. "Ethan," he whispered, breath barely forming the name. He hadn't seen this man since the day everything in his life fell apart. "You disappeared," Ethan snapped, stepping closer. "Do you have any idea what people are saying? What you've caused?" The room seemed to shrink. Emma stepped forward, placing herself subtly between them. "Sir, maybe you should lower your voice," she said calmly. Ethan ignored her. "You ruined everything," Ethan continued, eyes burning with anger. "You left us to clean the mess you made, and now you're hiding?" "Here?" Michael's chest tightened painfully. Shame flooded him in waves. Too familiar, too heavy. "I didn't run to hide," he murmured, though even he questioned the truth of that. Ethan laughed coldly. "Then what? You just walked away from a disaster you created?" Emma felt something rise in her, an instinctive protectiveness she didn't expect. She stepped closer to Michael, her voice firm. "Maybe you shouldn't make assumptions without knowing what actually happened." Ethan turned to her, irritation flaring. "And who are you?" Emma didn't flinch. "Someone who sees a human being trying to get back on his feet," she replied. Michael's breath caught. No one had defended him like that in months. Ethan scoffed. "You have no idea who he really is." Michael felt the words slice through him. He knew he wasn't innocent, but he wasn't the villain Ethan painted either. "You don't know everything," Michael said quietly, forcing himself to meet Ethan's gaze. "You never did." Ethan's expression twisted, confusion mixing with anger. "What's that supposed to mean?" Ethan demanded. Michael exhaled shakily. "You believed what everyone else said without ever asking me." The statement hung in the air. Simple, true, devastating. Ethan blinked, thrown off balance. For the first time, doubt flickered across his face. Emma watched the exchange, sensing layers she couldn't yet understand. But she did understand one thing. Michael was hurting. Deeply. She placed a gentle hand on his arm, steadying, grounding. Michael felt the warmth of that touch anchor him, reminding him he wasn't alone anymore. Ethan noticed the gesture. His eyes narrowed. "So, this is where you've been? Playing house in a little cafe?" Emma inhaled sharply. "Enough," she said softly, but her voice carried a quiet authority. "You don't get to speak to him like that in my shop." Ethan blinked, surprised by her firmness. Michael's throat tightened. Emma's courage stirred something inside him, something he thought had died. Dignity. He straightened slightly. "I didn't abandon anyone," Michael said. "I was pushed out, blamed for something I didn't do." Ethan opened his mouth to argue, but hesitation flickered again. "I don't believe you," Ethan said, though his voice held less certainty. Michael shook his head. "You believed lies because they were easier than confronting the truth." The truth. Someone else had betrayed the company, and Michael had been the scapegoat. But he had never told his side of the story. Shame had kept him silent. Silence filled the cafe. Heavy, charged. Emma looked at Michael with quiet sadness. "You don't have to defend yourself alone," she whispered. Michael swallowed hard. Her words hit deeper than she knew. He had been alone for so long that he had forgotten what it felt like to have someone stand beside him. Ethan's expression shifted. Uncertainty battling pride. "If what you're saying is true, then you should come back and clear your name." Michael's heart clenched. "And if I'm not ready?" Ethan scoffed. "Then the world will continue believing the worst about you." The threat stung more than Michael wanted to admit. Emma stepped forward. "People don't heal on deadlines," she said gently. "And pain doesn't disappear just because someone demands answers." Ethan stared at her, annoyed but also taken aback. He needs space, and he deserves respect. Her voice didn't waver. Ethan exhaled sharply, turning toward the door. "Fine," he muttered. "But this isn't over." He pushed the door open, letting a gust of cold wind rush in. Michael watched him disappear into the street, feeling both relief and dread intertwine inside his chest. The past had found him, and it wasn't done. Emma turned to Michael, her expression softening. "Hey," she whispered, placing a comforting hand on his arm. "Whatever he said, whatever happened, you don't have to face it alone anymore." Michael closed his eyes, the words sinking into him like a bomb. For the first time in a long time, someone saw his broken pieces and didn't walk away. The cafe closed early that evening. Emma could tell that Michael was shaken, though he tried to hide it behind small smiles and quiet gestures. As she locked the door, the wind picked up, rattling the windows with a force that hinted at an approaching storm. "Weather's getting rough," Emma murmured. Michael nodded, but his eyes were distant, lost in memories Ethan had ripped open. Inside, the lights glowed softly, casting warm reflections on the polished tables. Emma brewed tea while Michael sat near the counter, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. She watched him discreetly. He looked like someone standing at the edge of something. Fear, truth, or maybe the possibility of healing. She placed the cup gently beside him. "You're safe here," she whispered. He didn't trust his voice enough to respond. The storm outside grew louder, wind howling, thunder trembling through the walls. A sudden crack of lightning made the lights flicker. Emma glanced up nervously. "I hope the power holds." Michael looked around, alert. "Do you have candles?" She nodded. "In the back room." But before she could move, everything went dark. The blackout plunged the cafe into silence except for the storm's roar. Emma inhaled sharply, heart racing. She'd never liked darkness, not since losing her mother. Michael sensed her tension immediately. "Stay here," he said softly. "I'll get the candles." His voice was steady, grounding, like someone who had learned to navigate storms of many kinds. She heard him rummaging in the back, the sound of boxes shifting in the dark. When he returned, a faint glow followed. The flame of a small candle cupped carefully in his hand. Emma felt her shoulders ease at the sight of him emerging from the shadows with light. "Found them," he said quietly. "Let's make this place look less like a horror movie." Together they lit several candles around the cafe. The warm glow breathed life into the room, painting soft gold on the walls. The storm outside raged, but inside, it felt intimate, almost sacred. Emma placed the last candle on the counter. "There," she whispered. "Much better." Michael nodded, watching her with a quiet admiration he didn't dare voice. A sudden crack of thunder made the building tremble. Emma startled, her hand instinctively reaching toward Michael. He stepped closer, not to shield her but to steady her. "It's just noise," he said softly. But Emma shook her head, her breath uneven. "It's the dark. It reminds me of the night Mom went to the hospital." Michael's expression softened instantly. Without thinking, he placed a gentle hand over hers. "She's not in the dark anymore," he said. The words were simple, but they hit Emma deeply. Tears welled in her eyes. She hadn't expected anyone, least of all a man carrying his own shadows, to speak something so comforting. The wind howled again, making the windows shake, and suddenly a loud crash echoed from the alley behind the building. Emma jumped. Michael straightened immediately. "Stay here," he said, voice low but calm. Before she could protest, he walked toward the back door. Emma followed halfway, anxiety tightening her chest. He peered outside. A metal trash bin had been blown over, its lid rolling across the pavement. Relief washed through him, though the storm was far from easing. When he returned, Emma was waiting in the candlelit hallway, wringing her hands. He gave her a small smile. Just the wind. She let out a breath, but she still looked shaken. "You okay?" he asked gently. Emma nodded, but her eyes glistened. "I'm fine. Just, memories." Michael stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You don't have to be strong right now." Those words pierced her in a way she didn't expect. She looked up at him, eyes raw, vulnerable. "What if I don't know how to fall apart anymore?" Michael hesitated, then spoke from a place he rarely accessed. "Then let someone hold the pieces for a moment." Emma's breath caught. No one had said that to her since her mother passed. In the quiet glow of candlelight, her composure cracked. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Michael reached out instinctively, brushing one away with his thumb. She stepped closer, not seeking romance, but seeking air, warmth, steadiness. Michael wrapped an arm around her shoulders, tentative at first. When she didn't pull away, he held her a little tighter. The storm outside roared, but inside, the world narrowed to two wounded souls offering each other shelter. After a long moment, Emma pulled back slightly, wiping her cheeks. "Sorry," she whispered. Michael shook his head. "Don't be. You've been carrying too much alone." She exhaled shakily. "So have you." Their eyes met, honest, open, unguarded. A silent exchange passed between them. Not romance. Not yet. Something deeper. Recognition. A sudden gust rattled the roof, followed by a crackling sound. Emma frowned. "What was that?" Michael's face tightened. That wasn't thunder. They rushed toward the kitchen and gasped. Water dripped from the ceiling, landing beside the electrical outlets. A dangerous mix. "We need to shut the power off completely," Michael said. "Even if it's already out." They moved quickly, navigating the shadows. Michael found the breaker box and flipped every switch to the off position. The dripping above them grew heavier, forming small puddles on the floor. "This could get worse fast," he said. Emma pressed a hand to her forehead. "No, not the cafe. Not now." Michael stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll handle it," he said. Together. Emma looked up at him, really looked, and something in her chest loosened. She wasn't alone. Not tonight. Not in this storm. Not in this battle. And as she breathed out slowly, a strange peace settled over her. The storm raged on, but something inside the cafe had shifted. Two people who had been broken in different ways now stood side by side, facing a new challenge. And though neither said it aloud, both felt the same quiet truth rising between them. Sometimes God sends the right person, not to fix the storm, but to stand with you in it. Morning came quietly, as if the storm had exhausted even the sky. The cafe smelled of damp wood and lingering candle smoke. Emma walked through the kitchen with slow steps, assessing the damage. Water-soaked tiles, a cracked ceiling panel, a section of wiring completely ruined. Her heart tightened. This place was her last tie to her mother. Losing it wasn't an option. Michael stood beside her, arms crossed, observing the mess with a seriousness that surprised even him. "It looks bad," he admitted, "but it's not impossible." Emma exhaled shakily. "I don't have the money for repairs right now." Michael hesitated. "Then let me help." Emma froze. "Michael." "No. You've already done too much." He shook his head. "You helped me when you didn't have to. Let me return the kindness." She looked down at the puddle near her feet. "This cafe is all I have left of her," she whispered. Michael softened. "Then we'll save it. Whatever it takes." The certainty in his voice made something warm bloom inside her chest. They spent the morning moving furniture, cleaning puddles, and tossing damaged items. At one point, Emma slipped on the wet floor, and Michael caught her by the waist, steadying her. Their faces ended inches apart. Emma felt her breath hitch. Michael stepped back quickly, clearing his throat. Sorry, he murmured. Just didn't want you to fall. But the truth was, they were both falling already. By noon, exhaustion hit them. Emma sank onto a stool, pushing loose strands of hair behind her ear. It feels like every time I try to rebuild, something comes to break me again, she whispered. Michael sat across from her, elbows on his knees. Sometimes breakthrough looks like breaking first, he said softly. Emma blinked, touched by the unexpected wisdom. You talk like someone who knows, she murmured. A rueful smile touched Michael's lips. I do. I thought losing everything meant God had abandoned me. But maybe, he paused, searching for words. Maybe falling apart was the only way I'd stop running. Emma felt goosebumps rise along her arms. His honesty stirred something sacred. The afternoon sun peeked through the windows, painting the ruined kitchen in warm gold. Look, Emma whispered, pointing to the light. After every storm, the sun still insists on coming back. Michael watched the sunlight reflect in her eyes. For the first time in months, he wondered if something beautiful could grow again. From ashes, pain, and undeserved grace. Emma, he said quietly, I need to tell you something. She turned to him, attentive. When Ethan came yesterday, he wasn't wrong about everything. I did make mistakes. I pushed people away. I was arrogant, blinded by pride. I trusted the wrong people because I thought I didn't need anyone. His voice faltered. And I paid the price. Emma listened without judgment. That alone gave him courage to continue. Someone inside the company falsified documents. They blamed me, and instead of fighting, I disappeared. I was ashamed. Emma's eyes softened. You didn't disappear, Michael. You were wounded. And people bleed differently. He looked at her, stunned by the compassion in her voice. You make it sound like I'm not the villain, he whispered. Emma shook her head. You're not. You made mistakes, yes, but you also trusted. You believed. And that doesn't make you bad. It makes you human. Michael swallowed hard, emotion burning behind his eyes. Maybe God didn't abandon you, she continued. Maybe he led you here. To start over. Michael looked around the damaged cafe, the place where he had been fed, sheltered, listened to. Why here? He asked softly. Emma smiled, small and sincere. Because this is where broken things get mended. They returned to work, moving debris and checking electrical panels. At one point, Emma found an old box of her mother's recipes, damp but salvageable. She gasped. Oh no. Michael hurried over. Are they ruined? Emma opened the lid, relieved as the top pages were mostly dry. She wrote these by hand, Emma said, tears filling her eyes. They're the heart of this place. Michael placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Then we protect them, and we rebuild everything around them. Emma met his gaze, emotion raw and unfiltered. Why are you doing all this? She whispered. Michael paused, his answer forming slowly, honestly. Because for the first time in a long time, helping someone feels like purpose. A quiet moment followed, filled with warmth, gratitude, something unspoken blooming softly between them. The kind of connection that didn't rush, didn't demand. It simply grew. Emma inhaled deeply, steadying herself. We can fix this, she said. It won't be easy, but we can. Michael nodded. We will. As they gathered tools and made notes of what needed replacing, a sense of partnership settled naturally between them. Not forced, not defined, just present. Emma felt stronger with him there. Michael felt grounded with her near. Two people who had lost so much, finally feeling less alone. Late in the afternoon, a soft rain began again, but this time gentle, cleansing unlike the chaos of the night before. Emma stepped outside to breathe the cool air. Michael followed, standing beside her under the awning. Funny, she said softly. Yesterday's storm tried to break us. Today's rain feels like healing. Michael glanced at her, really looked, and something inside him shifted. Not in fireworks or sudden realizations, but in quiet clarity. She wasn't just someone who helped a stranger. She was someone who steadied the broken parts of him without asking for anything in return. someone who brought light into darkness without even noticing. Emma turned to him, offering a small smile. "Tomorrow, we start rebuilding." Michael nodded, feeling something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. "Yeah," he said softly. "Tomorrow." But what neither of them knew was this. The rebuilding wouldn't start with the cafe. It would start with their hearts. The next morning arrived with a bright, steady sun, as if the sky itself wanted to apologize for the chaos it unleashed days before. Emma opened the cafe doors to let the fresh air in, a hopeful breeze sweeping across the floorboards. Michael walked in moments later, carrying a box of tools. "Ready?" he asked with a gentle smile. Emma nodded. "Ready." They worked side by side all morning, fixing wiring, sanding damaged wood, and clearing out ruined ceiling panels. Michael was focused, determined, silently driven by something deeper than simple responsibility. Emma watched him with quiet admiration. There was strength in him, a grounded strength that hadn't come from success, but from surviving failure. Around noon, while repairing a broken light fixture, Michael's phone buzzed on the counter. He froze when he saw the caller ID. Ethan. His stomach tightened. Emma noticed the shift in his expression. "You should answer," she said softly. Michael hesitated, then pressed the button with a shaky breath. "Hello?" Ethan's voice was surprisingly calm. "We need to talk," he said. "I found something." Michael's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" A pause. "Just come to the office. You'll want to see this." The line went dead. Michael lowered the phone, nerves tightening around him like a vice. Emma stepped closer. "Do you need to go?" Michael swallowed, fighting the fear that rose inside. "I don't know what he found," he whispered. "But if it's more accusations, I don't think I can take another hit." Emma lifted her hand to his shoulder, a grounding touch. "What if it's not? What if this is the moment everything turns around?" Her faith in him shook something loose. He nodded softly. "Okay, I'll go." Emma tied her apron, grabbed her keys, and headed toward the door. Michael frowned. "Where are you going?" She smiled. "With you." His breath caught. "Emma, you don't have to." "I know," she said gently. "But you're not facing this alone." They rode in silence, the tension thick but softened by Emma's presence. When they arrived at the office building, Michael froze at the entrance, memories hitting him like waves. Failure. Betrayal. Shame. Emma slipped her hand into his. Not romantic, not planned, but instinctive. His breath steadied instantly. Inside, Ethan waited with a folder on the table. His expression was unreadable. "I went through the old files again," he said quietly. "And I found something we missed." Michael braced himself. Emma held her breath. Ethan handed him the folder. "Look." Michael opened it slowly. Inside were digital logs, financial reports, and signatures, none of them his. There was a final page circled in red, a transaction he had been blamed for, but the signature wasn't his. The timestamp didn't match. The access code used belonged to someone else entirely. His breath shook. This proves I didn't do it." Ethan nodded. "Yes, and it proves who actually did." He pointed at a name on the page, someone Michael had once called a friend, someone he had defended. Michael felt the air leave his lungs. "He betrayed me," he whispered. It wasn't anger. It was grief, deep, heavy, years overdue. Ethan exhaled slowly. "I'm sorry, Michael. I should have looked deeper. I should have believed you. I let myself be influenced by what others said." Michael's hands trembled. Emma stepped closer, her presence anchoring him. "The truth always rises," she whispered. "Sometimes late, but always right on time." Ethan rubbed his forehead. "The board wants to clear your name, publicly. And they want you back." Michael's head snapped up. "Back?" Ethan nodded. "Your position, your reputation. Restored." Michael's pulse raced, but not with excitement. With uncertainty. With something that felt like conflict. Emma watched him carefully. Michael stared at the folder, then at the office around him. The polished floors, the towering windows, the life he once lived. And for the first time, He didn't feel drawn to it. He felt distant, as if he had already left this chapter behind. Ethan frowned. "You don't look thrilled." Michael breathed deeply. "I thought getting my old life back would feel like victory." But now, he glanced at Emma. Her eyes were gentle, patient, curious. "I'm not sure it's the life I want anymore." Ethan blinked, taken aback. "Why?" Michael looked out the window, watching cars stream by like memories he no longer belonged to. "Because losing everything forced me to see what actually matters. People, purpose, compassion. I didn't have any of that before." He looked at Emma again. Really looked. "And now, I do." Emma's breath hitched, not because of romance, but because truth spoken openly is always sacred. Ethan crossed his arms. "So what are you going to do?" Michael closed the folder gently as if closing a painful chapter. "I'm going to clear my name, but I'm not coming back to this life. Not the way it was." Ethan nodded slowly, respect flickering in his eyes. "Then I'll support whatever you decide." Michael exhaled, relief washing through him. He turned to Emma. "Thank you for being here," he said quietly. She shook her head. "You did the hard part. I just stood beside you." Michael smiled softly. That made all the difference. As they walked out of the building, sunlight spilled over them, bright, warm, almost symbolic. Michael paused, breathing it in. For the first time in years, the truth was on his side. His name could be restored. His past could be redeemed. But even more than that, his future finally felt like it was beginning. The drive back to the cafe felt different, lighter, steadier, filled with a quiet joy that neither of them spoke aloud. Emma rolled down the window, letting the soft breeze carry away the tension of the morning. Michael watched her, the sunlight catching in her hair. For the first time since everything collapsed, his heart didn't feel like broken glass. It felt alive. When they stepped into the cafe, Michael paused, taking in the familiar scent of coffee and warm wood. "Feels like home," he murmured before realizing he'd said it out loud. Emma turned to him, eyebrows raised just slightly. "Home?" Michael swallowed, suddenly shy. I meant, it feels safe." She smiled knowingly. "Safe sounds like home to me." They spent the afternoon repairing shelves and sanding down old cabinets. Emma hummed softly while she worked, a tune Michael didn't know but his heart recognized. It reminded him of hope, of beginnings, of something sacred blooming in silence. At one point, their hands brushed while reaching for the same tool, and neither of them pulled away immediately. Around sunset, they stepped outside to watch the sky turn shades of coral and gold. Emma leaned against the railing, arms folded loosely. "I'm glad you told Ethan the truth," she said quietly. Michael nodded. "I'm glad you were there when I did." She looked at him, eyes soft. "Everyone needs someone to stand with them." "Yeah," he whispered. "I guess I finally found my someone." Emma's breath caught, but she didn't look away. "Michael, why didn't you want to go back to your old life?" He thought for a long moment. Because that life was built on pride, success, and people who disappeared when things got hard. His voice softened. "But here, I found honesty, grace, purpose. I found someone who helped me when I had nothing to offer." Emma blinked, her throat tightening. "You had more to offer than you think." Michael stepped closer. Not imposing, just present. "You saw something in me even I couldn't see anymore." "That's what God does," Emma whispered. "He reminds us who we are." Michael shook his head softly. "He reminded me through you." Silence fell, gentle and full of warmth. Emma looked out at the horizon. "So what happens now?" Michael breathed in deeply. "I clear my name publicly. Then I start over. Build something new, something real." Emma nodded, though a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. "And where will you go?" He didn't hesitate. "Wherever God leads me. But I'd like to stay here. If you'll have me." Emma turned to him fully, heart pounding. "Michael, you don't owe me anything." "I know," he said gently. "That's why staying feels right." Emotions swelled in her chest. She had been alone for so long, carrying her mother's legacy, battling her grief, fighting storms in silence. But now, someone stood beside her. Someone who wanted to. They walked back inside, greeted by the soft glow of the newly repaired lights. Michael took a deep breath. "Let's make this place better than before," he said with quiet conviction. Emma grinned. "Then we start tomorrow with fresh paint." Michael smirked. "And muffins. Your muffins are basically heaven's recipe." Emma laughed, a sound Michael hadn't heard often, but one he wanted to hear every day. He froze, surprised by the sudden longing that washed through him. She looked at him curiously. "What?" "Nothing," he said softly. "Just glad you're smiling." They worked on small repairs until evening, moving in easy rhythm, passing tools, sharing looks, exchanging brief smiles that said more than words could. Every moment felt natural, unforced, as if heaven had been nudging them toward this from the very beginning. At one point, Emma found her mother's old apron tucked behind a drawer. She held it close, inhaling the faint scent of lavender. Michael stepped beside her. "She'd be proud of you," he murmured. Emma's eyes shimmered. "I hope so." "I know so," he said with certainty that made her chest ache, in the best way. They turned off the lights and stepped outside again, the cool night wrapping around them gently. Fireflies flickered in the distance. The world felt still, like a page waiting for a new chapter. Michael took a slow breath. "Emma, there's something I need to say." She looked up, heart thudding. "What is it?" "I don't know what God is writing," he began carefully. "But everything changed the night you helped me. You didn't just save me from the storm, you saved me from myself." Emma's eyes glistened. Michael stepped 1 inch closer. "And I don't want to walk away from what's growing here. Not now, not ever." Emma's breath faltered. "Michael," he gently took her hands, not pulling, not assuming, just holding. "You don't have to answer anything now," he whispered. "But I want you to know that you matter to me, more than you realize. You've been light in my darkest season." Emma swallowed hard, emotion flooding her chest. "You matter to me too," she whispered. "Not because I helped you, but because of who you're becoming." Michael closed his eyes briefly, overwhelmed by the grace in her words. "Then let's keep growing," he murmured. "One step at a time." They stood there quietly, hands still entwined, as the night deepened around them. No confessions forced, no promises rushed. Just two hearts, healing, rediscovering, learning to trust again. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rushed, it was real, it was sacred. It was heaven written. Emma leaned her head gently against his shoulder and Michael exhaled, steady and grounded. The cafe behind them stood strong again, rebuilt, restored, redeemed. Just like them. And as the stars emerged one by one, Emma realized something beautiful. Sometimes helping a stranger is simply the beginning of a miracle heaven already planned. Sometimes, heaven writes the most extraordinary stories through the simplest acts. A woman who refused to walk past a stranger. A man who thought he had lost everything. Two broken lives touched by grace and found healing in each other. Emma didn't know that stopping on that rainy night would change the direction of her entire life. Michael didn't know that God was guiding every step of his painful journey straight into redemption. But that's how God works. Quietly, tenderly, purposefully. He doesn't waste storms. He doesn't waste heartbreak. He doesn't waste moments of compassion. Every act of kindness becomes a seed heaven waters. And maybe tonight, God is whispering something to you too. Don't stop loving. Don't stop believing. Don't stop helping the stranger on your path. You never know which miracle God is writing through your hands. If this story touched you, stay with us. There are more stories of faith, healing, and redemption waiting for you. Stories that lift your soul and remind you that God is still moving. Subscribe now to Redeemed Hearts so you never miss the miracles God is writing next. Share this video with someone who needs hope tonight. And comment below, God is writing my story. Because He is. And it's more beautiful than you can imagine.